Rowan Daneels' research on positive media psychology, which focuses on the positive and eudaimonic potential of digital games. Rowan, for game developers listening our
Mhm,
conversation, what
mhm.
advice would you give them if they want to design a game with eudaimonic experiences in mind?
Well, I think the best advice I can give the game developers is know your audience. I think
Yeah.
as we've seen that eudaimonic experiences are mostly subjective experiences. I think knowing what kind of player in terms of demographics, but also player motives, player profiles that the game wants to address, I think will definitely help them with evoking these eudaimonic experiences. Um, I think in the interviews that I just mentioned with game
Mm,
developers, there were a number of game elements that developers often use when wanting to evoke eudaimonia. I think the number one element is creating a narrative, a game narrative where players can recognize themselves in, and
mm,
where developers draw from their own experiences, real life experiences, or from other people's real life
mm,
experience. So narrative
mm.
is a very important element. I think
Yeah.
player agency is also something that I've mentioned. So
Mm,
players that have the freedom to make choices in the game that can impact the outcome of the game, but also
mm,
how they look as a character. I think that's also important, and
mm,
that's also something that differentiates games as a medium from other entertainment media. Um, and then yeah, how the gameplay feels, but also having challenges in the game, the visuals. That's a lot of things that are important. Um, and in those interviews, there's also one thing I remembered is that there's not one clear recipe to
mm.
implement these eudaimonic
Yeah.
experiences. I think
Yeah.
there were some general strategies such as you have to experiment with game elements, you have to take
Mm,
a reflective and a patient approach to the
mm,
development process. You
mm,
have to do a lot of play testing to assess whether these eudaimonic intentions that you have are properly interpreted by players. Um, so yeah, I think that's something that also came up. I think one final key insight that I want to share with developers is that these eudaimonic game experiences also go hand in hand with those hedonic game experiences. That's
mm,
also something that we discussed earlier. I think in the same game they reinforce each other, and that they are also needed to provide an overall more profound and meaningful player experience.
mm,
So there's the potential that players are not as engaged when you only present them with eudaimonic or very meaningful, very emotional aspects. Um,
mm,
so the idea would be to yeah, mix it up a bit and
mm,
have such deeper scenes after you have a more light or fun moment. So that
mm.
increases the impact players on players. Yeah.